government is not willing to budge on its deadline to link numerous schemes and services to Aadhaar, even as a flood of cases pile up in the Supreme Court. The government is adamant that its deadline of February 6th, meanwhile, for linking Aadhaar with mobile will not be moved as of now. But remember, these pleas are pending and will be heard later on. But let's talk about the basic issue of linking your mobile connection with your Aadhaar number. And on Primetime Debate over the last few days, we've been talking to a number of people who have various views on this issue. Some of them, of course, feel that it's completely unfair. There could be a breach of data, there are privacy issues, etc. We thought that the best person to talk about the linkage would really be the TRAI chairman, RS Sharma, who's joining us now on Primetime Debate. Very good evening, sir, and thank you for speaking with us on BloombergQuint. Why the huge fears about linking mobile with Aadhaar, and if there is so much of doubt in people's minds, why force them to link their mobile connections with Aadhaar?
No, let me tell you the whole history, because when you say people's mind, who are these people? Right, so you can't, they don't represent, let's say RS Sharma has some views, then RS Sharma's views are not the views of the people. So let's first separate that there are people who are opposed to this and there are people who are not opposed to it. So we should be very clear in that. Secondly, let me say that this whole thing started about, in January of 2016. We suggested to the Department of Telecom that one of the methods to give telecom connections should be Aadhaar electronic KYC. This essentially was meant to facilitate people to get the telecom connections. And this was a very robust way of authentication of the customers. And we recommended to the government that this should be one of the options people may exercise for getting a new telecom SIM. So that was the way we suggested. And there is a reason. One is that it will basically eliminate the need for having paper copies and paper documents. Another is there are a lot of forgeries which happen in these documents, in the sense that if I give my PAN card for getting a SIM in my name, this franchisee fellows, many times they make photocopies of that and they issue multiple SIMs in that. So it's not in my interest to give a photocopy of my PAN card or my election ID card or some other card which even my Aadhaar card for that matter, which actually can be photocopied, replicated, and SIMs can be got in my name, and then some crime happens, then there's a problem. So we suggested that there is a digital way, a more robust way for issuing the SIMs. It's also most environment friendly way. So the Department of Telecom issued the orders in August of 2016, where they prescribed that yes, Aadhaar electronic KYC will be one of the valid ways of getting a phone connection, a phone SIM. So in January 2017, this particular issue of accepting Aadhaar as a proof of identity and address for getting a telecom SIM was accepted by the Department of Telecom in 2016 August. Then in January 2017, we gave a recommendation to the government that because there are huge number of papers stacked out, number one. Number two, which the telecom companies are maintaining, and number two, telecom companies are being fined by the Department of Telecom, their term sales, because many times these papers are not traceable. So there is some complaint which happens regarding the customer acquisition form, and those papers are not available, then obviously the telecom companies are fined. Thirdly, we also have a situation where TRAI receives hundreds of complaints from the police, hundreds of inquiries from the police. And I'm sure the Department of Telecom and the other departments must be doing that also, receiving that also, wherein a crime is committed, then a telephone is essentially, caught. And as you know, a lot of investigation nowadays and it takes place through these telephone calls and their call detail records, etc. And then it turns out that the guy who was using the telephone is not the guy in whose name the SIM was issued. So this was basically a lot of fake SIMs and a lot of fraudulent SIMs are being issued to various people. And there is no robust mechanism for verification. So we said that because of this part, it is necessary, and we feel that it is necessary that the SIMs, some verification process must be adopted for the existing SIMs. And one of the verification process also could be the digitization of the existing paper things, which means that if there is a customer acquisition form which is fake, and if you say that, all right, who is the real person behind it, then in the re-verification process, if Aadhaar authentication, which is much more robust and much more reliable, is given, then what can be done is that first of all, the mobile gets verified, A. Secondly, now the telecom service providers can destroy that form, that customer acquisition form and the relevant papers. And this way, the entire customer database gets digitized. This is and there are many other benefits which we had written in our letter of January 2017.
Mr. Sharma, if I may please put my question across to you, sir, if you will allow me. My question effectively is...
Sure, please do. Yeah.
My question effectively is that before it is clear whether Aadhaar is an invasion of my privacy or whether it should be mandatory or not, is it fair to impose Aadhaar as a mandatory verification document on any customer who does not want it, even if it is one single customer? That's part one. Part two of my question is, sir, you said that the Aadhaar identification was a much more reliable source of identification in your view. Is it fair to say that in light of certain events which have come up, for example, there is a village in which 800 people have the same date of birth in their Aadhaar number, while farm loan waivers are being disbursed in the state of Maharashtra, you have over 100 farmers or recipients of those farm loan waivers with the same Aadhaar number. How do we know that Aadhaar could not be subjected to the same misuse any other identity can? There is nothing really clear, is there, which sets it apart?
No. Let me answer two of your questions, right? The first question is that if anybody has any problems with the order of the Honorable Supreme Court, the real forum to approach is the Honorable Supreme Court and not Mr. RS Sharma, right? So one is, I'm not really the person who can answer the first question, because if there is any person who has got any problem with the order, which stands as of now, then they should approach the Honorable Supreme Court, and I think people have approached the Honorable Supreme Court. So how can that order be, that operation of that order be put in abeyance without having any kind of order from the Supreme Court, to the contrary or otherwise? That's number one. Number two, on the process of whether somebody has got 100 people have got same date of birth, or whether it is more reliable or less reliable, I'm only saying that the authentication by Aadhaar is absolutely reliable. Whether this particular part that one person has 100 people have got same date of birth or not, that is something which I am not aware about, or I can't sort of contradict or support that particular hypothesis. That's your assertion, which probably I'm sure the authority which is now dealing with Aadhaar must be verifying. As far as I am concerned, you are asking I'm only concerned with this issue of linking or verification of the mobile with Aadhaar number, right?
So then let me.
So are you saying that the verification of mobile with Aadhaar number is a bogus verification?
No, I'm asking you one last question, which I think our viewers will be most interested in.
Sure.
What happens to those who do not link their mobile with Aadhaar?
Sure.
What happens to them in February next year? Do their connections get suspended as is being communicated by the mobile companies? What happens to them?
Again, the Department of Telecom has issued instructions in compliance of the Honorable Supreme Court's order, and that is something between, the Department of Telecom will have to give compliance report to the Honorable Supreme Court.
Thank you so much.
I'm not really the person who can say what happens to those who do not link.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sharma.
Thank you very much. You're welcome. Bye.
On BloombergQuint.